Welcome to Fix It Home Improvement, covering projects that every homeowner should know and great products for home and garden.
Hi, I'm JC, and this is where we share weekly home improvement tips. I'm here with my co-host, Cindy.
Hello, JC.
Hi, Cindy. Today we're going to be talking about doors. We'd like to thank David Allen for liking and sharing the podcast. The earliest recorded doors are from paintings in Egyptian tombs.
Ooh, Egypt.
In the early U.S. colonies, a home with a red door identified that these people would take travelers in for the night. So if you're...
Is that still the case?
Yeah, be careful how you paint your door. During the Civil War, homes that were part of the Underground Railroad would paint their doors red to help guide escaped slaves. And in Scotland, homeowners would paint their doors red when they paid off their mortgage.
Wow, who knew red was such a popular color?
Well, Albert Einstein, he painted his front door red because he couldn't remember which house was his after a long day at work.
Are we just going to talk about red doors, or are you going to get into different colors?
Start with exterior doors.
Okay.
So there's 5 main types. You have steel, aluminum, wood, fiberglass, and PVC. And steel, fiberglass, and wood are the most popular. With steel, you've got a very strong, durable door, and the basic styles are fairly low cost. They start around $150, and they're not going to be solid metal. So you're going to have the 16 to 24 gauge skin, and then inside you're going to have polyurethane or some type of composite, or sometimes even wood, so it's more energy efficient.
So they all look like wood?
Well, they can be smooth, or they can add wood grains to it. They can even add like a laminated wood veneer, so it it has that look of wood. Most of the just plain metal are going to have the baked finish, and then you can also get like a vinyl clad finish. And the problem with steel is if it's just a steel skin, it can dent. But what's cool is you can get those auto body repair kits.
Right.
And you can fix a metal door. And then the downside of steel doors is they don't stand up well in salt air, so around the coast. With fiberglass doors, they're very durable, very easy to maintain. They're not going to crack, rot, rust, or warp. And a fiberglass door is going to have an inner core of foam.
Really?
So most of these are only going to have a small amount of wood to reinforce like the center of it, the hinges, and the lock area. And that's going to minimize any warping in extreme conditions. And they really stand up in extreme conditions.
So they're lighter?
They're lighter than like a wood door, a solid wood door.
Right.
And they're very energy efficient, come in a wide variety of finishes and colors, and then you can actually get the wood texture on these too.
Right.
So it's pretty wild.
And I mean, these are amazing. They actually look like wood.
Yeah, it's wild. They'll even put like fake knots in there, and I mean, it's shocking how realistic they look. And this has a wide range of cost. The basic styles start around $200, but can go into the thousands. They're easy to maintain with soap and water, and many of these will last 15 years or more without needing to be painted or stained.
Really?
And what's nice about fiberglass, it's not going to dent, but the problem is it can crack if it gets a hard impact. So if you're moving in or out appliances, let's say, and you slam into it, you can crack fiberglass.
Whoops.
With wood, you can get a solid wood door, and what's nice about that, it's not going to dent. It's pretty solid, and it's going to resist wear and tear. But many of the wood doors now are just a wood panel veneer over a composite material, so it's more energy efficient and lower weight.
But they're kind of fake?
Yeah, inside. But you're going to have less warping rather than solid wood. And there's a wide variety of wood grade construction, the finishes. And these are still popular with high-end homes or historic or Victorian-style homes. With the wood, they're usually more expensive than the other materials. Just to start, many of these solid wood doors start around $500.
Wow.
And they really jump in price. And with wood, you've got to repaint them or restain them every few years to prevent splitting and warping.
Right.
So it's a little more maintenance. With aluminum doors, you have this aluminum skin over wood or a composite material. And these are very popular with patio doors. They're very lightweight. And they come in a lot of colors. You can get a wood grain texture on this also.
Everything's fake wood.
And most of these have a baked finish, so they don't need painting. They're not going to rust. And a lot of these aluminum doors have a 20-year warranty.
Wow.
But they're expensive. With PVC, you've got a lightweight material. It's weather and corrosion resistant.
Does it look like wood?
Yeah. You can get them to look like wood, Cindy, and they're going to be steel reinforced. They have this energy efficient core, and these are easy to clean and maintain, but they're not as popular. When you're picking an exterior door, most of them are now pre-hung.
What does that mean?
So you've got your door, and it's already in the frame. So you've got your jambs, you've got your threshold, all your weather strip, everything is connected. Your hinges is on the door jamb already, and so it's this whole unit that's energy efficient. It's very easy to install because if you're just replacing the door, you've got to match up the exact size. You've got to make sure that the weather strip is tight and functional. You've got to match the hinge placement, the latches. So it is quite a process if you're just trying to replace the door itself rather than the whole assembly. If you're just buying the door itself, they usually call it a slab or a blank.
Not a door.
No, that's not professional enough, Cindy. And you can get door slabs and pre-hung units either unfinished, painted, stained, or varnished. And if
they're all going to look like wood.
And if your door needs to be sealed, you want to make sure that you do it immediately so you don't void your warranty.
Huh, interesting.
You can get glass panels in the door, or you can have a glass panel along the side of the door, and then you can get a transom.
What is that?
So this is glass above the door. So like in the old hotels, they used to have transoms that they'd open up to get a little air ventilation. And there's
Why does it have a special name?
Because it's a piece of glass above the door. And there's a variety of shapes and textures and colors. You can get these low-E coatings on the glass. Most manufacturers are going to call that glass a light. So it's L-I-T-E or L-I-G-H-T. And
this is going to be a good podcast. You talked about Egypt and you spelled already. So.
And the side panels of glass are called side lights. When you're ordering these, I would always get a pre-hung or a slab pre-drilled for the doorknob and the deadbolt because it just makes it easier to install.
If you buy a pre-hung door,
right?
What are you connecting it to?
So if you've got an existing...
Besides like your house.
If you... So your old door, if the frame around it, so the jamb around it, the wood all around the door itself, if that is solid and it's in good shape and that measurement will allow a pre-hung model to fit in there perfectly, then all you have to do is just remove the trim, and you're going to pull the door out, you're going to remove the stop, so there's that strip of wood that the door closes on. You're just going to take that out, and you can slide your new pre-hung assembly right in between there. So you've got your door jamb, your top jamb, you've got your sill, threshold on the bottom, all connected. It's just going to slide right in that opening, and then you can screw it or nail it right to that existing frame. Or if that old jamb is worn and the old door was a pre-hung, you can remove the trim, and then you can use a reciprocating saw and cut through the nails or screws, take out that old jamb, the old frame, and now you're going to set your new pre-hung assembly right inside that void, and you're going to connect it right to the studs. So it really depends on how solid it is or how much work you want to do. And in a lot of cases, depending on the size, and that's going to be sometimes the determining factor, so you don't have to special order a door.
Right.
So here's, the size inside the existing frame itself, or if you take off your trim around the door, you're going to see where those door studs are,
right,
and that top sill, and you'll know exactly those dimensions and kind of make a decision from there.
Well, when we were watching some of these videos, I mean, it was surprising to me that they're just taking a saw and they're like cutting out, the reciprocating saw, and it's just like, they're just going after it.
Tears right through it.
I mean, it's crazy that underneath that trim, there's like really nothing there.
Not a lot that holds it in place. It's pretty solid once it's all tied together.
Right,
but yeah, the individual pieces.
Yeah, it's just crazy to kind of cut into your house.
All right. If the opening you have doesn't fit a standard size door and you don't want a special order one, you can add studs to the side or shims to resize the opening. On the inside, you're going to have to add drywall to finish off if there's, a difference. And then outside, you're going to have to add some type of wider trim.
Right.
If you want to fit perfectly an odd-sized opening, then you're going to have to special order. And you can special order different sized doors. And then you can also order side lights to make up the difference in the width.
And you could order 1, 2, whatever you need.
Yeah, it's nice. There's really a variety. And then there's also, single doors and
3.
Double doors. Maybe a really wide side light. And then some companies have spacers, so they have decorative spacers, so it's either painted or it's stained, or they'll have some type of finished surface on that to match your door. And then think about how you want your door to swing. Is it an in-swing or an out-swing? And
you should probably think about snow, too.
Yeah, if you're in the Midwest or Alaska, you wouldn't want an out-swing. in the morning after a big snow, it might be hard to get out. And then left hand or right hand. So as a door opens to you, so if the door's opening in in and you're standing on the inside. As the door is opening to you, if the knob is on the left, you have a left swing. If the knob is on the right, you have a right swing. Before you start your project, I would make sure that I have all the parts, the tools. I would start early in the morning.
You better.
Think about doorknobs. I would review the instructions. A lot of people, don't take the time to really review the instructions. And then even simple things like adding wood to the sill to make sure it's level. When you take out the old door and the old threshold, if that old sill isn't level, you're going to have to add wood to it, usually a treated wood or shims, so that that's level. You're going to make sure the height is correct so the door swings properly on your finished surface. And you're going to
probably have a sheet of plywood too, in case it doesn't go well.
Just to cover that, cover that opening.
Yeah.
And then you're going to need caulk, expanding foam, or fiberglass insulation. And foam is very effective. It fills, it expands. It really does a nice job of insulating.
Right.
And make sure you're getting the low expanding foam, and make sure it's labeled for door and windows.
Otherwise, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, because it's wild. The other stuff expands so much that it'll actually push your jamb out of plumb.
Right.
So you want to read the label also. Some of these manufacturers, they only want you to fill about 50% of the void, and it's going to expand to fill the rest of it.
Right.
And some companies, depending on the chemicals they use, recommend misting the area so it cures better. I would wear disposable gloves, goggles. I would protect any finished surfaces when I'm using expanding foam. You want to make sure that the foam is fully cured before you cut it, and it cuts very easy once it's cured. The top-rated foams for windows and doors are great stuff. Window and Door, DAP, and it's D-A-P, DAP Tex Plus, Touch and Foam, it's their No Warp, and Red Devil Foam and Fill Window and Door. For sealing the sill and outside...
Was that hard to say?
Sealing the sill?
Yeah.
No, I'd say it 3 times fast. Silicone does an excellent job. It stands up to a wide swing in temperatures. It's waterproof. It stays flexible. It stands up to sunlight. Most silicones aren't paintable, so I would either get clear or a color match.
Right.
And then you want to caulk behind your trim to secure it to stop air movement, and then caulk around the outside of the trim, and use the smallest bead you can to cover the space between the trim and your house.
Right, so don't cut the tip too big.
Exactly, because it's going to make it much easier to smooth. You're going to get a much more professional look.
And you're going to go through a lot less caulk.
Right. If you use just a basic caulk, you're going to want to smooth that with a finger or tool. If you're using 100% silicone, you're going to smooth it with a damp finger or a damp tool that's dipped in soapy water. Most of these projects are going to take you about 4 to 6 hours. So again, it's good to plan. It's like when I did this last house I had. I did a double door front entrance door. It was
that didn't go well, did it?
It was pre-hung. Wow, that was a project.
Yeah.
It took me much more than 4 to 6 hours. I started early and it ended late. Well, I had a problem with the brick and the brick mold that was around it, so I hadn't anticipated that. I measured from the inside, and I got good measurements because it fit well.
Sure you did.
But
was this like with your windows that you got good measurements?
Yeah, I had a problem with those too. But I had a problem with the outside trim just coming in contact with that brick, so we had to do a little bit of grinding.
Yeah.
So it's good to look over this stuff
so maybe
well before
measure on both sides?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's a good thing to learn from my mistakes.
So you and my dad can start your window and door company?
If you're in coastal areas, make sure that you check the building codes for impact-resistant requirements, because Florida, Texas, there's a few states that have building codes that require doors to withstand 120-mile-an-hour debris.
Well, of course. And
they have to be laminated impact-resistant glass in that, too. Some of the top-rated companies for exterior doors, JELD-WEN, it's JELD-WEN, Pella, P-E-L-L-A, Therma-Tru, and that's THERMA-TRU, and Masonite.
You're not going to spell that?
M-A-S-O-N-I-T-E.
Thank you.
And then I would go online and take a look at some of the new styles, because it is amazing, the variety of colors and textures. And you can get different types of glass, different shapes of glass.
Right, because it's more than just a slab of wood.
It's pretty amazing. And you get ornaments on it. There's a company called doorstuds.com.
Right.
And you can buy ornamentation to stick onto your wood door to give it some character.
Some of the doors are just beautiful.
Yeah,
and it makes a big
amazing
statement about your house, because you don't just have to paint it red anymore.
For interior doors, you get slab and pre-hung, and there's a wide variety from inexpensive, just flat surfaces to raised panels. You can get doors with glass. Let's say you have an office for the inside.
Right.
Your solid core doors have an inner core that's made out of either solid particle board or foam, sometimes just solid wood. And these are really good for high traffic areas or if you want soundproofing. And then hollow core doors have a wood or composite frame, and then there's a grid work in the center to kind of hold its shape. These are less expensive, they're lightweight, and you can get these that swing in or out and then either left or right hand. If you're replacing an interior door and the door jamb and everything is in good shape and you just want to buy the door, you want to measure your old door. If the old door isn't there, you want to measure the frame.
Where would the old door be?
You've just moved into a house and they took the old door with them. And so you want to measure the frame. You don't want to measure the stops where the door closes on. And the frame opening should be about 3/16 of an inch wider than the door and 1/4 to 1/2 an inch taller. The standard size door is going to be 6 foot 8 inches tall, and it's going to be anywhere from 28 to 32 inches wide. Usually, 30 by 80 is pretty common. For ADA compliance, they're 36 inches wide.
Really?
Yeah. For the thickness, most interior doors are going to be 1 3/8 inch thick. Exterior doors 1 3/4. But make sure you look at the thickness. And then I would always get one that's pre-drilled for your lock. If it's not pre-drilled, you're going to need a 2 1/8 inch hole saw and a 1 inch bit for the frame and the edge of the door.
Or you could buy a door kit.
Yeah, they have some really nice kits that actually have a guide that holds it in place that does a really nice job.
You could listen to our door lock episode.
Great episode.
It was a great episode.
If your door needs to be stained or painted, make sure you cover all 6 sides to prevent moisture from being absorbed. If you get a hollow interior door or composite, it usually has a 1/4 inch of solid wood all around the edges so the door can be trimmed. But check your labels. Some have less. I've seen some that are 1/8 an inch, and some are up to 1/2 an inch on the top and the bottom because it's hollow inside and it turns into mush if you cut. And I've done it when I first started investing in real estate. What did I know? Right. And so I'd cut down a few of these doors because you'd buy a door.
Apparently you didn't know how to measure.
Well, this was a standard door, and I was going to make it fit, and I used my circular saw, and the bottom was just flapping. It was just terrible. To figure out where you're going to put your hinge on the side of the door, you can measure down from the top of the frame to the top of the top hinge, take that measurement, and then reduce it by 1/8 of an inch, and now measure from the top of the door and mark that on the side of the door, and that's going to be the top of where you want to put your hinge. And you can do that for the other hinge or two, depending on how many hinges you have. And this is going to give you that 1/8 of an inch reveal, or that space between the top of the frame and the top of the door. You can use a chisel or a router to notch out for the hinge in the door, and you only want it as deep as the hinge itself. You're going to keep it 1/8 of an inch from the edge of the door. You're going to use that line that you made as the top of your guide. You're going to use the hinge as an outline, draw a line around it, and then you can use the chisel all around that line to the depth of the hinge. You want to put your beveled edge towards what's being removed, and now you're going to make just a series of slices using your chisel all the way down from the top to the bottom of this area you're cutting out. And now you can use that with that flat side down. You're going to remove all the waste. And then to finish it off, you'll flip it over and you'll put the beveled side down, and then you'll just smooth that surface so the hinge fits in there perfectly. If you have hinges with rounded edges, a router makes it easy to cut that shape out. And you can also buy a template that you can clamp onto the edge of the door, and then you just drop your router right into that.
Oh, nice.
If you're going to be putting up a pre-hung interior door, you can install it right against the old jamb if it's in good shape and you want to take off those stops that the door closes against. Or you can remove the old frame and put it up to the studs. And you want to check the height of the bottom of the door just in case you're adding tile or carpeting later. You want to make sure that it's not going to affect the swing of the door.
Yeah, that would suck.
And you can set this pre-hung door up on shims to raise it up. You want to check the floor with a level. If it slopes at all, you're going to want to trim one side of the jamb to adjust your height. And then when putting the unit into an opening, some people like to leave the door connected, and then some people like to pull the pins out and remove the door, so it's a little lighter, especially if you have a solid wood door. When you're putting your door in the opening, you want to make sure the jamb is flush with the drywall. So a lot of people use a scrap piece of wood, like a short piece of 1x4, something like that, and either nail it to the wall or to the new jamb itself. And as you lean that up, it's going to make sure that the edge of that jamb is flush with the edge of the drywall. Now we're going to center the door in the opening, and there's going to be a little room between the jamb and the studs that we're going to be securing it to. So we're going to take tapered shims, and about the height of the top hinge, we're going to put these tapered shims on both sides of the door, and we're going to, up high, wedge this in place. We're going to start on the hinge side, and where we put those top shims, we're going to drive an 8-penny nail, or we're going to pre-drill and use a screw, and we're going to go right through the jamb, through those shims, and into the studs. Let's say that we've removed everything and we're going into the studs, and now we're going to secure that. You're going to take a level, 4-foot or 6-foot level, and you're going to make sure that the door is plumb, and you're going to set shims about a third of the way down, make sure that it's plumb, and then you're going to secure that with a nail or a screw, and then you're going to use a level, and you're going to put shims on the bottom and secure it there. You're going to close the door, and then you're going to close the door if it's attached. If you remove the door, you're going to hang it back on. You're going to close the door, and you're going to check the reveal all the way around. So that space between the door and the jamb, and it should be about 1/8 of an inch to 3/16 of an inch, and it should be even completely between the door and the jamb. And now we're going to put shims on the latch side, and just checking, opening and closing the door, checking the reveal, and make sure that it's even all the way down. Once you have your door secure on both sides, then you're going to use a utility knife and cut those shims flush with the jamb. If you have an older house with plaster walls that aren't standard size, or if you have odd size studs in older homes, and a normal pre-hung door isn't going to fit in there perfectly, you can get something called a split jamb. And this is the jamb. It's cut in half lengthwise, and it fits together in a tongue and groove style. So you can put, and what's cool about this too is the trim is connected to the jamb.
Oh, nice.
So, you don't have to now cut all your trim around that. So you don't need a miter box or anything. So what's nice is you put one side in, and then from the opposite side of the door, you slide the other side of the jamb together, and then you attach it by putting a screw or nails right through the jamb, and it connects the two, and that gives you a little bit of wiggle room if you don't have a standard size wall.
Oh, cool. Do you have anything else to add?
I would say for exterior doors, I would look at pre-hung. They're going to be very energy efficient. The weather strip, the sill, it's all going to fit perfectly.
Because somebody else did it?
Yeah, you don't have to worry about trying to cut out perfectly for the hinges. Fiberglass, I really like. It stands up to a wide range of temperature and humidity, very easy to maintain, and you can get an amazing variety of styles. And again, very energy efficient with the fiberglass. I would look for something that's Energy Star rated. And then for your interior doors, you can get a slab or a pre-hung. If you don't want to deal, again, with hinges, I really like the pre-hung. It's going to hang perfectly, unlike a few of the first ones I ever did.
Let's wrap this up.
You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, the Spotify mobile app, and the Google Play Music mobile app.
There's a lot of places now. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a review.
You can check out our home improvement videos on our YouTube channel, Fix It Home Improvement.
And you can subscribe to that as well.
You can download our book, Home Improvement Solutions, What Every Homeowner Should Know, on Amazon.
If you enjoyed it, please leave us a 5-star rating and review.
You can email us at fixitpodcast@gmail.com.
Thank you for listening.
Talk to you next week.